All right, what's going on, you guys? Nick here with Nick Strength and Power. So we are exactly 1 week out from the 2019 Arnold Classic in Columbus, Ohio. Today is Saturday, February 23rd, and the Arnold Classic Men's Open Bodybuilding Competition will be next Saturday. Prejudging will be in the afternoon, and of course the finals will be on Saturday night. So I wanted to give my final Arnold Classic predictions at just 1 week out from the Arnold based on everything that we've seen so far from each of these competitors. Now, this is going to be specifically for the Men's Open lineup. So this is the final, most current list of competitors for the Arnold Classic 2019. You've got 13 of the best bodybuilders in the world. Several of these guys were top 10 Olympians in 2018. So you've got Lionel Bayecki, William Bonac, Rafael Brandao, Brandon Currie, Charles Dixon, Steve Kuklo, Josh Lonardo, Victor Martinez, Cedric McMillan, Luke Santo, Mikhail Volikin, Akeem Williams, and Rolly Winkler. So this is actually a really, really good lineup. It's important to note that in this lineup, you have three former Arnold Classic champions in Victor Martinez, Cedric McMillan, and most recently, William Bonac. So on paper, any of those three guys could win the show, just based on the fact that they've already won it, but probably William Bonac is the favorite to win based on the fact that he won it last year. He's the most recent champion, and he's the defending champion. And of course, that coupled with the fact that William Bonac is a fantastic bodybuilder, I think he stands a pretty solid chance of not just winning, but definitely being in the top three. Now, that being said, the favorite for a lot of people to win this show is actually Rolly Winkler. Now, William Bonac did, in fact, win the 2018 Arnold Classic, but then just a couple weeks later, Rolly beat William Bonac and Dexter Jackson at the Arnold Classic Australia. Then he would go and beat them both again at the 2018 Olympia, also beating Cedric McMillan, who's in this lineup. Now, when I made my first prediction video, I think I made it at like 5 to 6 weeks out from the Arnold Classic. And in my first prediction video, I had Rolly as the favorite to win this show based on his most recent placings, based on the fact that he's beaten William Bonac twice leading up to this Arnold, Ohio. And William Bonac is the defending champion. So I think arguably, based on recent placings, Rolly Winkler would have to be the favorite to win this show. Now, that being said, I think Rolly's recent guest posing changed a lot of people's minds about how they felt he was going to place and how they felt he was going to win this show. Because at 2 weeks out when he did that guest posing in Nepal, he didn't really look like his conditioning was where it needed to be at that point in his prep. Now, we've been wrong about Rolly before. There's been other instances where Rolly has looked similar to this close to a show, and people wrote him off, and he still did very well. Now, that being said, I think he actually looked better than this at last year's Arnold Classic at 2 weeks out. And keep in mind, he got fourth at last year's Arnold Classic. But then after a couple more weeks of prepping for the Arnold Australia, he was able to turn his physique around in a very short amount of time and beat the guys that beat him a couple weeks prior. So there is always the possibility that Rolly can make drastic changes to his physique and turn his physique around very, very quickly. But I think 2 weeks out is very, very close to the deadline to have that drastic of a transformation. But I'm not going to write off Rolly Winkler entirely. I do think Rolly Winkler is going to be in the top three at this show. However, I am going to be changing my predictions from Rolly Winkler winning this show. I think that William Bonac is going to defend his title here. I think when Rolly is 100% on, and he's in perfect conditioning, he beats every single bodybuilder on this list, hands down. But the problem comes in when Rolly comes in even slightly off. It's going to put him at a disadvantage to guys that are more complete, especially from the back. A guy like William Bonac, that's William Bonac's bread and butter is the back poses. The thickness and density that Bonac has in his back, as well as the detail that he has in his back, is something that Rolly Winkler lacks in the back poses. So especially if Rolly's conditioning isn't 100% there, it's going to be hard for him to beat a guy like William Bonac. If William Bonac is better conditioned and more complete from the back, it's going to be really tough to make an argument for Rolly over Bonac. So that being said, my 1 and 2 are going to be William Bonac winning the show again, and I'm still going to have Rolly Winkler in second place. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt here. I think he's a fantastic bodybuilder. I think this has been one of the best years of his life competitively, and I think he's still a threat to this Arnold Classic title. Time will tell, what he's able to do with his physique in the 2 weeks since that guest posing, but I think he's still going to come with a package that's complete enough and conditioned enough to be a top 3 guy, and in my opinion, second place. So that being said, my pick for third place has got to be Brandon Currie. Now, Brandon Currie's coach sent me these photos of Brandon, I think it was 3 weeks out, where Brandon looks absolutely phenomenal. Now, Brandon, I think in recent years is one of the most improved professional bodybuilders in recent memory. He had a fantastic year at the Olympia, taking 5th, beating guys like Big Ramy, Dexter Jackson, Cedric McMillan, guys that he doesn't typically beat. And I think he's going to keep that same energy at the Arnold Classic and continue to beat guys that he wouldn't usually beat, like Cedric. And based on the photos that we've seen of Brandon recently in his prep, I think it goes without saying that he's going to come in shape. We're not going to see an off Brandon Currie here. We're going to see a Brandon Currie, again, that's added a lot of muscle. He's added a lot of size. He's really filled out areas of his physique that previously weren't as filled out. And he's going to couple that added size with really good conditioning. So I think Brandon Currie, for me, is a very, very sure bet for the top 3. Now, 4 through 6. I'm going to be changing up these predictions a little bit from what I had in my 5 weeks out prediction video. So 4th place, I think we might actually see Josh Lonardo come in 4th. Now, again, it's been a couple years since we've seen Josh compete. But based on some of the updates that we saw of Josh, you know, he's looking to me to be bigger and freakier than he's ever been in the past. He looks grainy, he looks conditioned, and I think we saw the photos of him also at 3 weeks out. He looks insanely vascular, and that's really his calling card, is again, not the prettiest physique, not the prettiest structure, but when he comes in with that granite, hard, Dorian Yates type conditioning, Dorian Yates in his prime, it really makes him an undeniable bodybuilder. And like we say all the time, when bodybuilders come in off that have really good genetics, they can easily be beaten by a guy that doesn't have maybe as amazing genetic shape, but has that undeniable conditioning. I think Josh Lonardo is that type of guy where he comes in with this crazy conditioning and beats guys that he wouldn't beat if he were off or he were, 90%. And I also think the fact that Josh has kind of been away from the competitive stage for a while kind of motivates him to really come and make a statement in Ohio. So I don't think Josh is messing around. I think Josh is a serious contender for the top 6. And I'm actually going to put him in 4th in this particular prediction video. Now, next up, we have 5th place. So 5th place, I'm going to go ahead and put Cedric McMillan. Now, Cedric, honestly, is my favorite bodybuilder on this list. I think the way that he poses, the aesthetic look to his physique, and his personality and charisma overall just makes him one of the best bodybuilders on this list, in my opinion. And I really actually hate to put him in 5th because I think he is such a good bodybuilder. Again, he's already won the Arnold Classic. But based on his placing at the Olympia, 9th, I just can't in good conscience predict him winning this show or predict him in the top 3 based on the fact that 3 of the guys on this list beat him at the Olympia most recently in 2018. Now, Cedric could prove me wrong here because Cedric is really a wild card guy that seems to be hit or miss with the conditioning. When the conditioning's off, he definitely slips a few places. When the conditioning is on, he's very, very hard to beat. So it's really just a question of how is he going to be looking and what's his conditioning going to be looking like, because that's going to be what predicates how he places. Now, the only update that we did see from him was back at 5 weeks out, where he posted a video with a caption saying he weighed 290 pounds. Now, 5 weeks out is kind of a tough mark to really predict how they're going to look at the show. But just based on the fact that he was that heavy at 5 weeks out, to me, it wouldn't necessarily suggest that we're going to see the most ripped version of Cedric that we've ever seen. But again, I'm hoping he actually does prove me wrong and places a little bit higher than I have him predicted. In fact, I would actually love to see him win this show, but my prediction for Cedric would have to be in 5th place. Again, just predicated on the wild card factor of what his conditioning is actually going to look like next Saturday in Ohio. Now, 6th place, this is kind of a hard one for me because I think the top 3 is a pretty safe prediction. I think the top 3 is pretty locked down. Bonac, Rolly, and Brandon. I think 4 and 5 could maybe go either way. But 6, I think, could be so many different guys on this list because there's so many good bodybuilders competing here. You've got Luke Santo, who I would love to see take 6, a fellow Redcon 1 athlete. I think he's looking fantastic this year, like we saw at 2 weeks out. But then you've got my friend Steve Kuklo as well, who won the Indy Pro last year. He was top 6 at the Arnold last year, top 10 at the Olympia last year. Then you've got Victor Martinez as well, who has won the Arnold Classic before. And you've also got Rafael Brandao, a newcomer to the Arnold Classic Ohio, but has a really aesthetic physique, really great lines, and really great structure. So it's really a tough pick to pick who's going to be the final guy, basically, in that top 6. So for me, I'm going to go ahead and go with Luke Santo. So no offense to any of those other guys that I just mentioned, but I think on this one, I'm going to have to take a more biased pick because for me, it's really a coin toss between any of those guys. But I really would like to see Luke Santo crack that top 6 at the Arnold, Ohio, and really make a good statement here. I think a top 6 placing for him would be a win. So those are my predictions for the 2019 Arnold Classic in Columbus, Ohio. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Give me your guys' top 6. How do you think Rolly Winkler's going to place? Do you think he could still win? And thank you guys for watching the video. Please give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Nick Strength and Power, signing out.